And Nicholas Poynton's joining me now in the studio to talk business. Nicholas, I'm interested in this deal that it appears Meridian Energy was going to offer to Rio Tinto. This is obviously to get it to stay open at Tiwai Point for longer. So have they revealed exactly what they put on the table?
Yeah, they did that today at their annual shareholders meeting. But before we get to that, I thought it's probably worth doing a quick recap. So Meridian Energy, they supplied the aluminium smelters power, and it was those transmission costs to bring the power from the nearby Manapuri station to Tiwai that caused so much tension in the relationship there. And we've known for some time that Meridian tried to offer some sort of tantalising package there to stop Rio Tinto from pulling the plug. And today at its annual meeting, as I mentioned before, its chief executive told shareholders that Meridian offered Rio Tinto savings of close to $250 million to keep the smelter open for another 4 years. And this package included changes to the supply contracts, and it would deliver savings, it says, and I quote, in excess of $60 million a year for a 4-year period. And as we all know, Rio Tinto, they rejected this offer. And hearing the Meridian's chief executive speak today at the shareholders meeting, these can be, typically quite boring. The speeches are prepared way in advance, but he was audibly frustrated as he told shareholders that they really thought that this was a fair offer that would keep all parties happy. And this sort of leaves us now with, we just don't really know what's going to happen with Tiwai at the moment. All the major parties, they are promising now to keep it open, but we won't really know what happens until after the election. But at some point we do know that it is going to close, and Meridian told its shareholders today that they are doing everything they can to prepare for that, because when they do lose Tiwai, that's 13% of its total power demand gone. And so there's going to be all this excess or surplus power and water that will be unused, and the question is now is what plans they have in place to make sure or use that in the future.
If that very significant amount of savings, $60 million a year, wasn't enough, was there any mention of what they actually wanted?
No.
In order to make it happen?
And that's that's the thing. Like Rio Tinto, they've been silent over this whole ordeal. When we get in contact with them, we get statements and days after the fact. And I think it would be really interesting to know what it was that they wanted. And we just don't know.
Okay, big question mark. This is a hotel that you're going to talk about now that it didn't want to become part of the whole quarantine and isolation system, so not accepting people off flights. And is it benefiting from that, from sort of being at a distance from COVID-19?
Well, I think this is a really savvy move, because you can imagine that it required a lot of forward thinking at the time. So this is the apartment hotel franchise Quest. They own a number of hotels throughout the country, and it says its bookings have picked right up since COVID restrictions have eased. It's now up to about 5%, or it's just under 5% of pre-COVID levels. And the main reason they say that they've seen this, dramatic increase in bookings is because they're snapping up all the businesses or business people that are travelling up and down the country. They say that with all these hotels at the moment and the country's main centres being used as quarantine facilities, business people, government staff, look, they haven't been able to stay at the normal places that their businesses would typically have accounts with. So look, it's turned into a bit of a win for them. For context though, Quest in the past, the majority of its business is business people. They don't really turn to tourists, but you just have to imagine that back in March and April, when they were approached numerous times, that we've been told, to be a quarantine facility, it would have taken a lot to say no, given the fact that business travel had all but stalled at that point. COVID-19 has really changed the way that businesses work and the way that people travel. But the reason that the chief executive gave for turning this down was that, all right, they accepted that there was going to be less demand, but there's also going to be less supply. So while the business is going pretty well for the moment, the chief executive says they don't think they'll be able to get or eclipse pre-COVID levels of trading until we see the resumption of trade shows and big business conferences.
Should we take a quick trot around the market?
Yeah, absolutely. So the NZX Top 50 is up by 65.5 points to 11,812. Our own dollar is up 66.3 US cents, 92.4 Australian. We're at 51.2 British pence, in gold, it's up $6 to 1,892 US dollars an ounce.
Thanks, Nicholas. Nicholas Poynton with Business News.